The month of Rajab is the month of many occasions and many blessings. I would like to focus only on one of the occasions, and that is the birthday of Imam Jawad alayhi salam, based on the request to focus on the life of 12 Imams during these sermons. And I promise to mention a little about the life of Ahlul Bayt based on the occasions. The 10th of Rajab, based on some of the traditions, is the birth of Al-Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam, Al-Imam Abu Ja'far, Mohammad ibn Ali al-Jawad. He is Abu Ja'far al-Thani. The first Abu Ja'far is Al-Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, Abu Ja'far al-Awwal, and the last one, Abu Ja'far al-Thani, who Al-Imam al-Tasi', the 9th Imam min a'immat Ahlul Bayt. And the title of this Imam, whose name is Mohammad, and you know that there are 3 of our Imams that their name is Muhammad. And the first one was Al-Imam al-Baqir, Muhammad al-Baqir. The second Muhammad is Muhammad ibn Ali, Al-Imam al-Jawad, the 9th Imam. And the last Muhammad is Al-Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. So the title of this Imam, Muhammad ibn Ali al-Jawad, the famous title is Al-Jawad. There are so many titles, but Al-Jawad, Al-Taqi, Al-Zaki, لكثرة جوده، لكثرة الخير والبر والإحسان، كان مصدر خير وفيض وهداية، وكان على نهج أبيه في العلم والتقوى والزهد والجود. So the title of Al-Jawad is out of generosity and sakha, that this great Imam used to share his knowledge, his wisdom, his guidance, his light, and material, whatever he had in life, he was so generous to share. And this is representing his title, Laqab Al-Jawad. His father, of course, Al-Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, and his mother, As-Sabika. As-Sabika, Katlatun min al-Dhahab wal-Fidda, is like Sabika in Arabic language, means a piece of gold or silver. Al-Imam al-Rida used to call her Al-Khayzaran. Al-Imam al-Jawad was born in Medina, but he was martyred in Baghdad, and he buried in Al-Kadhimiyya. The life of Al-Imam al-Jawad was very short. The shortest life among 12 Imams. He lived only 25 years in this world. There was a confusion after the martyrdom of Al-Imam al-Rida that now his son Al-Jawad was only 7 years. And how come a 7-year boy can lead the Ummah? And that was confusion for a while, but after people started asking him questions, and he went through challenges, everybody was convinced that he was qualified, despite of his young age, to share his wisdom and leadership. الشيخ المفيد عليه الرحمة قال كمال العقل لا يستنكر لحجج الله من صغر السن. Just because someone is younger, but if he is wiser, if he is perfect in wisdom and intellect, so we cannot deprive people from his leadership because of his age. Especially we have in the Quran, there are two messengers of God who were much younger than Imam Jawad, and we know that the source of Nubuwwah and Imamah is the same. Both are divine position. يا زكريا إنا نبشرك بغلام اسمه يحيى لم نجعل له من قبل سميا. Allah said to Zakaria that now we are giving you a baby son, his name is Yahya John. And then in another verse later Allah says Ya Yahya خذ الكتاب بقوة وآتيناه الحكم سبيا. We gave the hukm, the prophethood and the wisdom and responsibility to Yahya while he was a sabi, he was a boy, a young one. Immediately after he was born, and Allah gave the good news to Zakaria, he says now he carries the wisdom. There is another example in the Quran was Nabi Isa alayhi salam, Sayyid al-Masih, فأشارت إليه قالوا كيف نكلم من كان في المهد صبيا. When Maryam came with baby Jesus, some of the Jews and others, they said, how come you were a single girl and now you have a baby? Where is it coming from? How can you justify that? It's shame. فأشارت إليه, but she pointed towards the baby and she let the baby speak. قال إني عبد الله آتاني الكتاب وجعلني نبيا. He is a baby, he was just born, but he spoke and he said that Allah gave me the book, revelation, and he appointed me as a Nabi. So if it is possible for Allah to choose John and Jesus while they were born, to appoint them as the messenger, it is possible for Allah to choose a boy of 7-year-old like Al-Jawad alayhi salam be the position of leadership. Al-Imam al-Hadi the same thing. When Al-Imam al-Jawad, he was martyred, Imam al-Hadi was only 6-year-old. Al-Imam al-Mahdi was only 5 years old when Al-Askari was martyred. So that was a miracle of Allah, that it is not about quantity, it is about quality. Nowadays it's very obvious for us. Now there is a slogan in this country, say bigger is better, but not necessarily. You can have a little memory disk with all this information. You can have a small external drive that you put all the information of computer in such a little external drive. So how come? It's a little tool with ocean of information of the whole universe. So it's possible to have someone, and we have seen so many, young boys or girls with extra blessing. So it's not the question of age, but the miracle of Allah that yes, He can choose Jesus as a prophet while Jesus was a baby. He could choose Yahya as a messenger Yahya was just born. The same thing about the position of al-imamah. Some people talk about the imamah, whether it is from Usuluddin or from Furu'uddin. In reality, imamah in the Ahlul Bayt school of thought is the biggest foundation of our faith, because through the wisdom of the imams, we understand the wisdom of Allah, and we realize the essence of At-Tawheed, the essence of An-Nubuwwah, the essence of Day of Judgment. We understand the Usuluddin through the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. And for that reason, وَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلْ فَمَا بَلَّغْتَ رِسَالَتَهُ. Why? The Prophet already spoke about Tawheed, he already spoke about the Day of Judgment. But now Allah is telling him that if you don't fix the position of Imam, you haven't done your Risalah. That means Tawheed and Nubuwwah and judgment and all these principles are not announced and the job was not done if you don't focus on this part. This is why the Prophet used to say all the time, Kitab Allah wa itrati, the book of Allah and the Imams, because they are the standard. As-salamu alayka ya mizan al-a'mal. The Imam is the standard for our action, for our expression, for our life. But unfortunately, the Imams were the target of terrorism, the target of harassment in physical way, psychological way, all the way during the time of Umayyad. And there was a hope that after the government of the Umayyads, now the Abbasis, they came, Al-Abbasiyun, they came to power under the slogan of love for Ahlul Bayt. There was a hope that the Bani Abbas may express a better treatment to Ahlul Bayt. But it was so bad that Abu Atta said, Ya layta jawru bani Marwan aada lana, Ya layta adlu bani al-Abbas fil nari. There are some people that they wish that Marwaniyun come to power out of oppression and aggression and terrorism that Bani al-Abbas used against Ahlul Bayt in different way. Of course, Ma'mun was a very smart man, and he dealt with Al-Imam al-Rida different. He asked him to come to Khurasan from Medina, and Imam was reluctant, but he had no option. But he left his family in Medina, and he came to Khurasan. He went to Khurasan. We don't know if Imam Jawad ever traveled to Khurasan to see his father. We don't know if he had. There is one hadith only that he might have gone once to Khurasan from Medina to see his father. But then when Imam al-Rida martyred and Ma'mun moved to Baghdad from Tus, we have indication that at least twice Imam al-Jawad, he went to Baghdad. Of course, with the same reason that Imam al-Rida went to Khurasan, because Ma'mun asked him to go to Baghdad, and he suggested to Imam al-Jawad, while still he is like young, in 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, to marry with al-Fadl bint al-Ma'mun, because he already married his daughter, one of other daughter to Imam al-Rida, and now he is offered his younger daughter, and he wanted Imam al-Jawad to marry her while he was very young. And we have indication that the khutbah was performed, not official marriage, just a kind of reservation now that Imam al-Jawad is in Shar'an, is the husband of al-Fadl. But then the real official marriage happened many years later when Imam al-Jawad was asked to come to Baghdad again. Probably he was 20 years at that time. And at that time he married officially al-Fadl, and they went to Hajj, and then they went to Medina. But Imam Jawad never had children from al-Fadl, and Imam al-Hadi came through the wife of Sumana, another wife of Imam al-Jawad, and that was a cause of some jealousy of al-Fadl, that she used to complain and even wrote to her father Ma'mun in Baghdad that she was not happy with the situation. But then Ma'mun didn't pay that much attention because Ma'mun had his own political agenda. After Imam al-Rida, he want to say that I was not the cause of the death of Imam al-Rida. And he want to be close to Ahlul Bayt because they were potentially dangerous for the unjust government of the Abbasi. If Ma'mun knows that his own daughter is in the house of Al-Imam, so he knows that he has a very strong spy in the house of the Imam. So if there was anything that so dangerous, Ma'mun would know about that. There are some people who complain about this marriage, that are you marrying your daughter and you are the Khalifa with all this power to a boy who is not even educated, he has not gone even to a school yet. How come you as a Khalifa do such a thing? But Ma'mun said, you are not aware of ilm Ahlul Bayt, that this knowledge comes from the Quran, this knowledge comes from the Prophet, this knowledge comes from the Waratha and Nabi, this knowledge comes through inspiration and connection with the angels. This is not an ordinary person. And he said, let us try. When they called Qadi al-Qudat, Yahya ibn Aktham, and they said, let us dispute and let us test this boy. How much knowledge does he have? And this is where the Yahya ibn Aktham says, أصلحك الله يا أبا جعفر ما تقول في محرم قتل صيدا. And you know the story, فقال الإمام قتله عمدا أو خطأ حرا أو عبدا صغيرا كان أو كبيرا مبتدأ بالقتل أو معيدا من ذوات التير أو كان السيد من غيره من صغار السيد من كباره مصرا على ما فعله نادما على ما فعله في الليل كان في النهار كان الإحرام للحج كان العمرة. Everybody was surprised that he asked just one question. And Imam Jawad alayhi salam opened that questions and he created tens of other questions. And then Yahya could not even answer. Ma'mun said, Yabna Rasulullah, you yourself answer all these questions. And when Imam al-Jawad started answering one after another, everybody was shocked that how come this boy of 8 years, 9 years is able to open the heart of the knowledge amazingly. Then Ma'mun said, now you realize that I was not marrying my daughter to someone who has no knowledge. We don't have time in this khutbah to go to too much details, but as I said, Al-Jawad is the title because of the Jud and Sakha and generosity of Al-Imam in sharing his wisdom and his knowledge. And his akhlaq. It's ruya, is a tradition that one night they heard that Imam al-Jawad is doing the prayer. The whole night he said, Allahumma qini shuhha nafsi, Allahumma qini shuhha nafsi, oh Allah, help me to liberate my soul from selfishness and greed. I want to free my soul, oh Allah. The heaviness of greed is an evil, and I don't want to be under the domination of my greed. Oh Allah, help me. That means how Imam understands the psychology of human beings. All these diseases in the world, big part of it has to do with greed of human beings, with selfishness, with ignorance, with injustice. Imam said, لم يستكمل العبد حقيقة الإيمان حتى يؤثر دينه على شهوته ولا يهلك حتى يؤثر شهوته على دينه. You cannot complete your faith except you put an end to the domination of your desires over your intellect, over your faith. And if you submit to your shahwat, you never enjoy the taste of your faith. Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam said, عليكم بطلب العلم. Everybody, not only the students in the school, everybody in Muslim community. Imam said, education, education, education. العلم علمان متبوع ومسموع لا ينفع مسموع إذا لم يكن متبوع. He said, when you hear something, make sure you make a note, you write it down, you save it. Many times you come to Salatul Jumu'ah. Many of you maybe heard me 10 years, 20 years. But many of us, we never made a note, either here or when you go home. Now, if you want to remember anything that I said in 10 years, you may not remember nothing. Imam said, علم المسموع لا ينفع. If you want your knowledge to be useful, that you get benefit out of it in the future, make a note of that. Today you make a file, you save it. من عرف الحكمة لم يصبر على الازدياد منها. If you really know the beauty of wisdom, you never satisfied. Always you are hungry and thirsty of more and more and more. الجمال في اللسان والكمال في العقل. You want to show your beauty is not in your muscle. Show your beauty through your tongue, your thought, your kalam, your words. وَالْكَمَالُ فِي الْعَقْلِ. You want to show your perfection, show it through your intellect. It's not just physical. And then finally Imam Jawad said, لَوْ سَكَتَ الْجَاهِلْ مَخْتَلَفَ النَّاسِ. If the ignorant in the community were silent, we didn't have all this problem. If ignorant in the world were silent, we didn't have all this war and all this brutality. They are ignorant and they talk too much. And Imam Jawad said, that is the problem. The problem of al-jahl, ignorance. The problem of al-hirs, al-tama', selfishness. And also the problem of al-dhulm and injustice. So Imam Jawad lived only 25 years. And finally, with most probability, al-Fadl, who finally was used by Mu'tasim. She could not argue with her father when Ma'mun passed away. And Mu'tasim, who was brother of Ma'mun and the uncle of al-Fadl, he came to power in Baghdad. He knew already the problem that existed in Medina in the house of Imam al-Jawad, and he used al-Fadl to poison Imam al-Jawad. This is one reason that we don't have that much information about the life of Imam al-Jawad, because his life was short and too much politics was going on. And when Imam al-Rida went to Khurasan, he didn't take the family because he knew that it was not a normal trip. He didn't want to risk the life of his family too. So he left them in Medina. And the rest of them, so much ambiguity, but still we have so much information about this great Imam. And we learn from Imam al-Jawad the danger of greed. Allahumma qini shuhha nafsi, that cause all this problem that's going on in the world. Sometimes people say Allahu Akbar, they talk in the name of religion, but this is not Allah who is speaking. It's not Allahu Akbar who is speaking. This is their greed, this is their ignorance, this is their selfishness, this is their ego that's speaking. I just wrote a letter to all the Imams, the Shia and Sunni. As a matter of fact, I invited them to come to House of Wisdom, have a meeting next Sunday, next Wednesday. After I saw this video, and it was a big news, and BBC World Service, other agencies, they showed it on the YouTube, that how one of these anti-government in Syria, one of these rebels, after killing one of the Syrian soldiers, he opened his heart. Very disgusting situation. It's unbelievable the amount of uncivilized behavior. How disgusting. And he started eating the heart of the soldier. We remember that this happened in Uhud. when Hamza, the uncle of the Holy Prophet, was killed, and Hind, أكلت كبده, the heart of a man was eaten, and then we thought that this is only a Jahiliyyah at that time. It was time of Jahiliyyah. But now to see in 14th, 15th century of Islam, someone says Allahu Akbar, and people supporting him when he slaughtered a man and opened the body. Not only that, he is so proud to do it in front of the camera. They record it and they put it on YouTube like they did a very heroic big thing. It is so disgusting and so shame. It's not about somebody is for the government or against the government. I'm not talking about politics. It's talking about humanity, about dignity of human beings. That someone go that down to commit such a barbaric and animalistic attitude, such a filthy practice against another human being. They are not Junud Allah, they are Junud Shaitan. Those terrorists is not about Shia and Sunni. There is not about Shia and Sunni. They are not Sunni either. They are anti-Islam. They are not in real definition of Muslim. They cannot claim they are Muslims. A Muslim wouldn't do that, even in war. You cannot do this even to the animals. What about human beings? Unfortunately, these practices continue. You see in Burma, if you look at some of these YouTubes from the scene of brutality in Burma, how they deal with these people, and no human beings does such a thing with any animals. And they do it. Unbelievable. And this sinful world is silent about these crimes. Now they are worried that, in Iran, the woman cannot be president. Like that's a big issue. Like how many women we had a president in the United States even, that now you are worried that in Iran, why women cannot. They are not worried that in Saudi Arabia, they cannot even drive a car. They don't talk about that. And now is a problem that over there they cannot be president. Though it's not necessarily the case. They have different definition of constitution over there. It's not 100% black and white, but the point is that they make such a big, this is hypocrisy. In Bahrain, the same thing. You heard about this Ayatollah Sheikh Isa Qasim, how the Junud al-Hukuma, the forces of the government, they attacked his house, I think yesterday, and they damaged the house, the library, and harassment of his family and children. We obviously condemn all these crimes, whether in Baghdad or in Burma, or whether in anywhere else in the Middle East or in Africa. There is no place in any faith for this kind of terrorism. Even if somebody is atheist, doesn't believe in God, even in the ideology of atheism, there is no room for these ugly practices. So obviously they are condemned, and we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this month of Rajab, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-ali al-azim. Allahumma la tada' lana dhanban fi maqamina hadha illa ghafartah, wa la hamman illa farajtah, wa la karban illa nafastah, wa la maridan illa shafaytah, wa la mayyitan illa rahimtah, wa la dhallan illa hadaytah. Allahumma inna na'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa' wa min qalbin la yakhsha' ومن نفس لا تشبع. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. وإن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.